Story 14. The Weight of Soil. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a farmer named Sam. Sam's family had been farmers for generations, and they knew the land like the back of their hand. One summer, a traveling merchant named Tom came to the village. He was known for selling rare and valuable items. As he set up his stall in the village square, a crowd gathered around, curious to see what he had to offer. Among his wares, Tom had a shiny set of scales. They were unlike any scales the villagers had ever seen. Tom announced, "These scales are magical. They can weigh anything, even the intangible things in life." The villagers were intrigued and asked Tom to demonstrate the magical scales. He began by weighing a sack of potatoes, then a bucket of water, and even a feather. The scales worked perfectly, showing the exact weight of each item. As the crowd watched in awe, Sam stepped forward and asked, "Can your scales weigh something as common as soil?" Tom smiled and agreed to try. Sam scooped up a handful of rich, brown soil from his farm and carefully placed it on one side of the scales. To everyone's surprise, the scales showed a weight. "Amazing!" exclaimed the villagers. They had never seen soil being weighed like this before. Sam, however, had a question. "What about the intangible things in life, as you mentioned earlier? Can your scales measure those?" Tom nodded and said, "Indeed, they can. But it won't be easy." Sam thought for a moment and then asked, "Can you weigh the weight of my love for my family?" The crowd hushed, curious to see if the magical scales could truly measure something so intangible. Tom hesitated but agreed to try. Sam closed his eyes and thought of his family, of all the love he had for them, and how it filled his heart. Then, he gently blew a kiss towards the scales. The magical scales began to move, slowly tipping in favor of the soil. The crowd gasped, and Tom exclaimed, "The weight of your love for your family is immeasurable, but it is not heavier than the soil from your land." Sam smiled, realizing that while his love for his family was priceless, the richness of the soil on which their livelihood depended was just as precious. The villagers understood the lesson. The intangible things in life, like love and family, were invaluable, but they should never forget the importance of the tangible, like the land that sustained them. From that day on, the villagers appreciated their soil more than ever. And whenever they saw Sam tending to his farm, they remembered the day when the weight of soil taught them a valuable lesson about the balance between the tangible and intangible in their lives. The end. Story 15. Tenali Rama and the Trader. Once upon a time, in the magnificent kingdom of Vijayanagara, there lived a witty and clever man named Tenali Rama. He was known far and wide for his intelligence and wit. One day, a rich trader arrived in the kingdom with a bag full of precious gems. He wanted to sell them to King Krishnadevraya. The trader made his way to the royal court and announced, "Your Majesty, I have brought the most exquisite gems from distant lands. They are unmatched in beauty and value. I am here to offer them to you." King Krishnadevaya was intrigued and asked the trader to display the gems. As the trader showcased the gems, they indeed appeared to be extraordinary, sparkling with colors and radiance. King Krishnadevaya turned to his courtiers and asked for their opinions. Tenali Rama, always quick-witted, whispered a few words into the king's ear. The king nodded and smiled. Turning to the trader, King Krishnadevaya said, "These gems are truly magnificent, but I have a request. I would like you to stay in our palace for a week while my jeweler examines the gems thoroughly. After that, I will make a decision." The trader agreed to the king's request and was escorted to a luxurious guest room within the palace. However, he was puzzled by Tenali Rama's whisper to the king. The next day, the trader noticed something unusual. Whenever he entered his room, he saw Tenali Rama sitting in one corner, laughing heartily. This happened repeatedly, and the trader became more and more curious. Unable to contain his curiosity any longer, the trader approached Tenali Rama and asked, "Sir, why do you laugh every time I enter my room?" Tenali Rama, with a mischievous grin, replied, "Oh, it's just that your gems are so extraordinary that they make the walls of the palace laugh with joy. They cannot contain their excitement." The trader was taken aback and thought to himself, "This is ridiculous. Walls cannot laugh." However, Tenali Rama's words had planted a seed of doubt in the trader's mind. He began to worry that he might have been fooled into thinking his gems were more valuable than they really were. After a week had passed, the trader met with the king, who asked for his decision. The trader, now uncertain about the true worth of his gems, said, "Your Majesty, I have realized that my gems are not as valuable as I thought. I have decided to lower their price significantly." King Krishnadevaya smiled and said, "Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate your willingness to reconsider. You may go now, and your gems will be returned to you." The trader left the palace, realizing that Tenali Rama's clever words had saved him from making a costly mistake. He had learned a valuable lesson about not letting pride cloud his judgment. And so, Tenali Rama's quick wit and clever words once again prevailed, proving that intelligence and wisdom were often more valuable than precious gems. The end. Story 15. The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the hills, there lived a mischievous young shepherd boy named Jack. Jack was responsible for watching over the village's flock of sheep, making sure they grazed safely in the lush green meadows that surrounded the village. He was known for his wild imagination and a love for adventure. One sunny morning, as Jack was sitting under a tree, he began to feel a little bored. The sheep were peacefully grazing, and there was not much for him to do. In his boredom, a naughty idea popped into his head. He decided to have some fun and play a trick on the villagers. Jack stood up and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Wolf! Wolf! There's a wolf coming to eat our sheep!" Hearing the boy's cries, the villagers rushed out of their houses and ran towards the meadow with tools and weapons in hand, ready to defend their precious sheep. But when they arrived, they found no wolf. Jack was laughing, and the sheep were calmly grazing. One of the villagers scolded Jack, "You silly boy. Don't lie about such things. You could have caused a lot of trouble." Jack chuckled and thought it was a great joke. The villagers returned to their homes, shaking their heads in annoyance. A few days passed, and Jack's boredom returned. He decided to play the same trick again. Once more, he cried out, "Wolf! Wolf! A fierce wolf is attacking our sheep." Once again, the villagers rushed to the meadow, only to find Jack laughing heartily and the sheep safe. This time, they were even more frustrated with the mischievous boy. But Jack didn't learn his lesson. A few days later, a real wolf arrived in the area, attracted by the smell of the sheep. Jack saw the wolf approaching and panicked. He shouted, "Wolf! Wolf! Help! The wolf is really here." This time, the villagers did not come rushing to his aid. They thought Jack was playing another prank, remembering his previous false alarms. They stayed in their homes, and Jack watched in horror as the wolf attacked the sheep and carried some away. When the wolf finally left, Jack realized the terrible consequences of his lies. He had lost some of the villagers' trust, and, more importantly, some of the sheep had been killed or taken by the wolf due to his false alarms. Jack felt ashamed and guilty. He learned a valuable lesson that day, that lying and playing tricks can have serious consequences. From then on, he vowed never to deceive anyone again and to be responsible for his actions. The villagers forgave him, but Jack had to work hard to regain their trust. And so, the mischievous shepherd boy learned that honesty and responsibility were far more important than any fleeting moment of amusement.